5 Practical Life Lessons from Leo Tolstoy that can transform your daily life. Imagine learning from one of literature's greatest geniuses not just about classic novels, but about how to live more consciously, simply and authentically. Leo Tolstoy, author of immortal works such as War and Peace and Anna Karenina, was also a deep thinker about spirituality, ethics, and purpose. His reflections go beyond books and offer practical lessons for our modern daily lives. In this video, you will discover 5 powerful life lessons from Tolstoy that can transform the way you see the world, your relationships, and even your simplest routine. These are ideas that touch the soul and that, if applied, have the power to bring about real changes in your life. If you like content that combines deep wisdom and practical application, like this video and subscribe to the channel, because here we deliver reflections that really make a difference in your daily life. Topico 1 is Simplicity is Power. The Art of Living with Less. Tolstoy deeply believed that simplicity is one of the greatest virtues in life. He himself gave up many of the luxuries of his aristocratic life to live humbly in the countryside, growing his own food and wearing simple clothes. For him, simplicity was a direct path to truth and inner freedom. We live in a world obsessed with consumption, excess, and distraction. But Tolstoy teaches us that the more we accumulate, the more we distance ourselves from our essence. Simplicity is not poverty, it is clarity. It's about making conscious choices, eliminating the unnecessary, and keeping what really has value. True freedom is not in possessing more, but in depending less. When we learn to live with less, we begin to realize what really matters: time, peace, true relationships, and purpose. And often, these treasures are hidden under the weight of superfluity. Tolstoy invites us to review our priorities. Do we really need everything we buy? Or are we just trying to fill inner voids with external things? This is a powerful question that he asks us through his life and work. Simplicity is also a form of resistance. Resistance to the system that always wants us to run, accumulate, compete. By choosing to live with less, you are saying, I don't need this to be happy. And this is one of the most revolutionary ways of existing. In the Confession, Tolstoy recounts how his search for meaning led him to realize that material possessions were just a distraction. He realized that there was a disconnect between what he lived and what he believed. And this realization was the first step towards a great transformation. Starting to live more simply can be gradual. You don't have to abandon everything from one day to the next. But you can start by observing: what is taking up space in your home, in your mind, in your heart? What can you let go? Minimalism is not just aesthetics. It is ethics, it is applied spirituality. Tolstoy shows us that true beauty lies in a stripped-down, clean life without excess. An open field, a sincere conversation, food harvested with your own hands. This is true wealth. Simplicity also makes introspection easier. When we are not too busy with external distractions, we can hear our inner voice more clearly. And this voice, according to Tolstoy, is where conscience, morals, and the connection with the divine live. Ask yourself now, what is complicating your life unnecessarily? What commitments, habits, or objects do you keep just by inertia? The answer may be uncomfortable but liberating. Embracing simplicity can also improve your mental health. Less stress, less anxiety, less comparison. More focus, more presence, more balance. Tolstoy believed that a simple life was a happier life, and modern science confirms this. Many people wonder where to start, and the answer may lie in the little things. Reducing consumption, organizing the home, cultivating silence, prioritizing experiences over objects. Don't underestimate the impact of these attitudes on your well-being. Tolstoy also believed that simplicity brought people together. When we stop defining ourselves by what we have, we begin to connect with who we are. Relationships become truer, more human, deeper. Interestingly, living with less helps us live more fully. Every gesture, every encounter, Every moment takes on more meaning when we are not anesthetized by excess. And this is something you can try today. How about taking this test? Choose a day of the week to live more simply. Fewer screens, less consumption, more silence, more contact with nature. Notice how you feel. Perhaps this is the key to a more purposeful life. And you, have you ever tried to simplify your life in any way? Write in the comments how this search for simplicity has manifested itself in your daily life. Your experiences can inspire others who are on the same path. Topico 2: Moral clarity. Choosing what's right over what's convenient. For Tolstoy, morality was not an abstract or religious concept, but a living principle that should guide all human actions. He believed that life only makes sense when it is guided by a deep sense of justice, compassion, and truth. It's not enough to be convenient, you have to be correct. In his works and letters, Tolstoy denounced the vices of society and the hypocrisy of those who preferred to follow social norms rather than ethical principles. He himself faced censure, elite scorn, and even family conflict for remaining true to his conscience. Choosing what is right, even when it is costly, is an act of courage. Tolstoy said that true strength lies not in dominating others, but in dominating oneself, and that mastery begins when we decide to follow our inner truth, even in the face of adversity. Moral clarity requires vigilance. In a world full of distractions and excuses, it's easy to justify bad behavior. Tolstoy reminds us that every choice has a consequence and that we should ask ourselves, does this decision bring me closer or further away from my integrity? Integrity, for him, was the greatest wealth a human being can possess. You can lose everything, possessions, status, even relationships, but if you maintain your integrity, you remain free. It is this freedom that makes you invincible from within. Tolstoy was not just a writer, but a social reformer. He defended nonviolence, respect for life, love for others, and equality between all. His ideas influenced figures such as Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., showing that morality has transformative power. How many times do we fail to do the right thing for fear of judgment, for complacency, or for fear of loss? Tolstoy invites us to face this fear and realize that true failure is betraying one's conscience. Doing the right thing, even if no one is watching, is a silent gesture of greatness. Tolstoy saw in this the essence of spirituality, living righteously, not for reward or applause, but for deep conviction. But how to develop this moral clarity in everyday life? Tolstoy believed that self-knowledge is the first step. Observe yourself honestly, question your own motivations, and be willing to change. Ethics begins within each of us. Another important point is the practice of empathy. For Tolstoy, there is no morality without compassion. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes, listening with your heart, and acting sensitively are daily exercises that purify our intentions and strengthen our morality. Moral clarity often forces us to say no. Not what everyone does, not what seems easy, not what hurts our soul. And learning to say no firmly and calmly is one of the greatest virtues of a conscious human being. Tolstoy also teaches us that morality is a collective construction. By doing good, we inspire others to do the same. Each ethical attitude is a seed planted in a larger field, and one day that field blooms, transforming entire communities. In practice, this can start with simple actions. Not lying, not condoning injustices, being transparent, keeping your word, apologizing, acting with respect. Small ethical choices generate big changes over time. It is important to remember that morality is not perfection. Tolstoy was hard on himself, but he also knew that error is part of the process. The most important thing is to recognize, learn, and follow with more awareness. The world urgently needs people with moral clarity. In times of relativism, superficiality, and selfishness, following one's conscience is an act of luminous rebellion. And this rebellion could be the seed of a new world. And you, have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between what is right and what is convenient? Share your experience in the comments. Your story can illuminate the path of someone facing the same dilemma today. Topic 3: The Power of Work. Finding meaning in simple tasks. For Tolstoy, work was not just a means of survival, but a spiritual practice. He believed that there was an intrinsic nobility in everyday effort, especially in simple, manual work. Cultivating the land, preparing food, cleaning a space, all of this, for him, was a source of connection with the divine. In his adult life, Tolstoy left aside the luxury of aristocracy and began to work with his own hands. He saw daily work as a way of getting closer to the truth and developing humility. For him, there was no small task when done conscientiously. The modern world often teaches us to despise simple activities, as if the value of life were in prestige or status. But Tolstoy reminds us that the true value lies in the dedication, care and attention with which we carry out each act, no matter how small it may seem. Work, when done with presence, turns into meditation. The body moves, but the soul rests. And it is in this state of alignment between action and spirit that we find meaning. Tolstoy believed that human beings become spiritually stronger when they carry out even the most common tasks with dedication. This vision completely changes our relationship with routine. What previously seemed monotonous or unimportant, washing dishes, sweeping a sidewalk, planting a seed, now has a symbolic and transformative value. Tolstoy saw manual work as a way to balance body and mind. For him, society had lost its way by separating thought from action. Intellectualism without practice was empty, and practice without reflection was blind. The ideal was to combine both, think deeply and act simply. The idea of dignity at work is one of the pillars of Tolstoy's philosophy. He rejected the idea that some should serve while others just rule. Each human being, for him, should be able to take care of his own life with his own hands and share the fruits of this effort with others. This appreciation of daily work is also linked to gratitude. When we start to see each task as an opportunity to serve and grow, the heart opens to gratitude. And where there is gratitude, there is abundance. Tolstoy teaches us that work connects human beings with reality. When we have our hands on the ground, our feet on the ground, our eyes attentive to what we do, we anchor ourselves in the present. This connection protects us from alienation and keeps us human. Many people today seek meaning in big goals and achievements, but forget that the meaning of life can be found precisely in the little things. A bread prepared with love, a garment sewn with care, a plant watered with care. This is applied spirituality. Working with purpose also cures anxiety. Instead of living in the future or getting lost in distractions, you anchor yourself in the task of now. And this focus on the present, according to Tolstoy, is one of the purest ways to find inner peace. Even in the simplest tasks, it is possible to put intention. Doing something well, with care, transforms the result and transforms you. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. Tolstoy believed that a work done with love leaves an invisible mark on the world. What you do with your heart carries energy that spreads, and this energy touches people, even if they don't know where it came from. Today's society teaches us to seek quick success, but Tolstoy teaches us to value the process. Every small step, every honest effort, every gesture made with soul is part of a greater construction. Recovering the value of work is rescuing the value of life. When you honor your tasks, you honor your existence, and when you do them consciously, you transform the common into the sacred. And have you ever tried finding peace in simple, everyday activities? Tell us in the comments which task connects you with your essence. Maybe your daily gesture is much deeper than you imagine. Topic 4: Love as a moral force. Compassion beyond romance. Tolstoy saw love not just as a romantic feeling, but as a moral force capable of transforming individuals and societies. For him, true love was action, compassion, empathy, and service to others. It was the basis of ethics and authentic spirituality. Love, according to Tolstoy, is not something that is sought outside, but an inner strength that must be cultivated every day. He believed that human beings were born to love, and that disconnection from this principle was the root of all social and spiritual conflicts. This love, in Tolstoy's thinking, goes beyond passion and relationship. He speaks of unconditional love, one that extends to strangers, the poor, those who suffer, those who make mistakes. Love, for him, is an exercise in humanity. In his letters and essays, Tolstoy repeated that there is only meaning in life when it is lived for others. And loving others is not just feeling, but acting with kindness, listening carefully, caring with tenderness, forgiving with sincerity. Tolstoy also made a harsh criticism of idealized love, which often becomes possessive, selfish, or superficial. For him, true love is free, detached, and deeply conscious. He doesn't demand, he doesn't arrest, he doesn't manipulate. He serves and frees. This moral love is present in small attitude. A gesture of patience, a generous look, a welcoming word. They are ways of loving silently, but deeply. And it is these attitudes that build lasting and true bonds. Love, for Tolstoy, was also a response to violence. He rejected any form of aggression and believed that love could dissolve hate. This philosophy directly influenced peaceful resistance movements, such as Gandhi's. In Tolstoy's works, we see characters who transform when they discover the power of compassion. They are people who leave pride and resentment behind and start living from the heart. This is the true miracle that moral love produces. But how can we cultivate this love in today's world, marked by haste, individualism, and indifference? Tolstoy invites us to slow down, observe others with more empathy, and relearn how to care. Love is a practical and daily choice. This type of love is not measured by beautiful words, but by coherent actions. Being kind to those who think differently, respecting differences, helping without expecting anything in return, all of this is love in motion. Tolstoy also warns us about the importance of loving ourselves honestly. Not with narcissism, but with self-respect, self-care, and forgiveness. When we treat ourselves tenderly, we become more capable of treating others humanely. Many people wait for great love to feel complete, but they forget that the most transformative love is the one that begins within us and expands to the world. Tolstoy said that love is a seed, and we can all plant it. In times of conflict, intolerance, and division, moral love becomes a necessary antidote. He reminds us that despite our differences, we all share the same essence. And it is this essence that must be honored, welcomed, and celebrated. Tolstoy saw love as the foundation of all true morality. Without love, he said, no law or system has value. Love is the foundation on which we can build a fairer, more peaceful, and truer world. Love is the simplest and, at the same time, most revolutionary way of transforming the world. You don't need great resources for this. Just presence, awareness, and a willing heart. And you, what loving attitudes have you cultivated in your daily life? Share in the comments a simple way you practice moral love. Your answer may inspire others to do the same. Topico 5: Inner Growth Through Reflection. The discipline of self-examination. Tolstoy believed that true human growth happens through self-reflection. More than accumulating external knowledge, it invites us to delve into ourselves, question our motivations, recognize our mistakes, and seek inner transformation. For him, a life without reflection is a life adrift. Self-reflection, for Tolstoy, is like a mirror of the soul. It reveals what is hidden, confronts our illusions, and forces us to face our own shadows. And it is precisely in this encounter with what we avoid seeing that the deeper process of evolution begins. In his works and diaries, he constantly reviewed his attitudes and thoughts, seeking to understand his flaws and improve his conduct. Tolstoy viewed life as a spiritual journey that required vigilance, humility, and constant discipline. In the modern world, full of distractions, self-reflection has become a rare, and therefore precious, habit. Stopping to think about who we are, what we do, and why we do it is a revolutionary act of consciousness. Tolstoy said that it is easier to criticize others than to criticize yourself. But real change begins when we honestly look at our own behaviors and recognize our inconsistencies. Only those who have the courage to see themselves can begin to transform. This practice does not require major rituals. It can start with simple questions. Am I living according to my values? What motivated me to make this decision? What habits are taking me away from my inner peace? These questions open doors to a more lucid life. Self-reflection also frees us from blind guilt and victimhood. It shows us that we are, to a large extent, responsible for our reality, and this, far from being a burden, is an opportunity for empowerment and rebirth. Tolstoy believed that, without this constant looking inward, human beings are lost. He becomes a slave to habits, other people's opinions, and external expectations. Reflection is the way back to the axis, to the center of being. In times of crisis, this practice becomes even more necessary. Instead of running away from pain, Tolstoy teaches us to listen to it. Pain is a teacher. It reveals truths that joy often hides. And whoever reflects on pain grows with it. Many people confuse reflection with harsh judgment. But Tolstoy proposes a loving, sincere, but compassionate look. It's not about punishing yourself, but about understanding yourself, and, from there, evolving. Writing can be a great ally in this process. Tolstoy wrote daily, recording thoughts, doubts, and discoveries. The simple act of writing can organize the mind, clarify feelings, and open new paths of understanding. The discipline of self-reflection also helps to develop virtues such as patience, inner listening, and conscious silence. In a noisy world, silence becomes a portal to wisdom. And those who cultivate it learn to listen to what really matters. This practice also protects us from superficiality. By reflecting, we become more authentic, more connected with what is essential, less influenced by fads or external pressures. Tolstoy saw reflection as a form of wordless prayer, a silent dialogue between the soul and the sacred. It is in this intimate space that the most profound answers, the most valuable insights, and the best decisions emerge. Inner growth, according to him, is not a goal to be achieved, but a continuous state of movement, learning, and refinement. There is no end point, just a constant walk towards the truth of oneself. And do you take time to reflect on your life? What questions have you been asking yourself lately? Share in the comments and inspire others to start this journey of self-knowledge. Leo Tolstoy's words and examples continue to resonate powerfully because they touch what is most essential in human beings: the desire to live with purpose, simplicity, love, and truth. His lessons surpass time and remind us that a life well lived does not depend on fame, wealth, or external achievements, but on internal coherence and depth of soul. If you've made it this far, you've probably felt something inside you resonate with these ideas. Maybe it's time to look at your routine with new eyes, value the little things, strengthen your integrity, and cultivate more compassion. Small changes inspired by big ideas can completely transform your reality. If this content touched your heart, leave your like, share this video with someone who needs these messages, and subscribe to the channel right now. Here, we will always bring practical and in-depth reflections to help you build a more conscious life. And in the comments, say, which of these Tolstoy lessons impacted you the most? And watch the next video that will appear on the card and take advantage of the opportunity to learn about the teachings of another renowned author.